Welcome to Lesson 11-4, Multiplying Two Fractions. Our learning goal will be to use the standard algorithm and models to multiply two fractions. Our learning goals will be when we multiply fractions, we are finding a fraction of a fraction. Our answer will be smaller than the original fractions that we are multiplying together. And sometimes that's a little bit of a hard concept for us to understand. We usually are used to thinking when we multiply, we're going to get a bigger number. But when we're working with fractions, we are finding just a portion of a fraction, so it will be smaller. As far as the standard algorithm for multiplying fractions, we have to multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. You'll then need to convert any improper fractions if you need to, and we always want to simplify or have our fraction answer in simplest terms. Make sure you pause and write down these learning goals. Our vocabulary is fraction. It's an amount greater than 0 but less than 1 whole. Numerator is the top number on a fraction. It is the amount being represented out of a whole. A denominator is the bottom number of a fraction, and it is the number of parts in a whole, or parts in all. So please pause, make sure you write down your vocabulary. We're going to look at our first example problem. Connor has 3/4 of a pan of brownies. His friends ate 2/3 of this amount of brownies. What fraction of a whole pan of brownies did his friends eat? So if we were going to write this problem out, we would write 2/3 of 3/4. That's how much his friends ate. Anytime we have of in a fraction problem, that means multiply. So 2/3 of 3/4 means 2/3 times 3/4. So here's our example, 2/3 of 3/4, and we're talking about that pan of brownies, which we already have right here on our screen. So what I want to do is I want to look at that second fraction, 3/4, and I want to divide my whole pan of brownies into 4 equal parts. So when I do that, I'm going to divide this in half, in half again, and in half again. We're going to pretend like those are nice equal parts. All right, so I've just divided my whole pan of brownies into 3/4. And we know that there were 3/4 of the pan of brownies. So I'm going to color 1/4 in, 2/4 in, and 3/4 in. Okay, so whenever we look at this, that's how many brownies that we're working with. And his friends are going to eat 2/3 of 3/4 of the brownies. This seems to work better if I go ahead and change my color of ink so that we can see what that's going to look like. So if I take the brownies that I have right here, which are the ones that are shaded in blue, and I'm going to divide that into thirds for the 2/3. Okay, so I'm going to go right here and right here. So I've divided the brownies that are left into 1, 2, 3 groups. Now I'm going to shade in 2 of those 3 groups. So there's 1/3 of the brownies, and here is 2/3 of the brownies. Okay, so now if I want to, I've represented 3/4 of the brownies, and then his friends have eaten 2/3. Now I want to go ahead and extend these lines over so that we can see how many brownies are actually left, or the answer to our multiplication problem. What is 2/3 times 3/4? Well, if I look at this and I see the ones that have been colored in both blue and red, I'm going to count those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this would tell me that my numerator is going to be 6, and then I need to look and see how many total pieces this was divided into. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the answer to our multiplication problem of 2/3 times 3/4 is 6/12. If I was going to show that in simplest terms, I would reduce that and it would become 1/2. I want to show you, the reason I showed you this model is so that you understand why the algorithm works. If we look at 2/3 times 3/4, and we know that we can just multiply our numerators together and multiply our denominators together to get the answer, That gives us 6/12. And if we reduce that, that is 1/2. So the reason for drawing the model is so we actually understand how this math problem works, so that we don't just memorize the algorithm and know how to do the steps but have no idea what that really means. Let's go ahead and look at the next problem, our first practice problem. We have a practice problem of 1/4 of 1/2. So remember, anytime we have of, that is going to mean that it's a multiplication sign. So now on your own, I want you to try this practice problem. Please pause, try to draw the model, and then work it out using standard algorithms so that you can understand why that model is correct. Take a moment, pause, and then we'll come back and work the problem together. Okay, so again, I'm going to start with the fraction 1/2. I'm going to divide, let's say we're talking brownies again, my pan of brownies into halves. All right? Now, I need to shade in, and maybe I'll get a little bit better with this. Actually, let me change what this looks like. This might be a little better way to do that. Let me change my color again. All right, so I'm going to color in 1/2 of my pan of brownies. Okay, to show my 1/2. Now let's change colors. Let's go with blue. All right, now in my 1/2 that I'm working with, I've got to divide that into fourths. So I'm going to divide that into 4 equal pieces, or try to make them equal. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. And now I've got to shade in one of those pieces. Now I want to go ahead and extend these lines because this helps me understand where my denominator is going to come from when I multiply these together. So if I look at this, I have this divided, my pan of brownies, into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. And I have one of them shaded in. So if I use standard algorithm and I do 1/4 times 1/2, I multiply my numerators, I get 1. 4 times 2 is 8. So we've just shown the model and the standard algorithm for solving this multiplication of fractions problem. Let's look at practice problem 2. Okay, for practice problem 2, we have 1/3 of 2/5. Remember, of means multiply. Please pause, draw your model, work it out in standard algorithm after you've drawn the model, and see if those match. Whenever you're ready, push play. All right, so again, I'm going to work with this fraction of 2/5. I need to divide this rectangle, my pan of brownies, into 5 equal pieces. Like I said, we're going to pretend like those are equal. It's a little hard to draw with this pen. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, and we're just going to shade in 2 of them. To represent my fraction of 2/5. All right, so of the 2/5, now I've got to look at this fraction and I've got to divide it into thirds. So let me change my ink here so it's a little easier to see. Okay, so if I'm going to divide this into thirds, okay, I don't know why that changed color on me. All right, so I have 2/3, or I have a third, and a third. So I've divided the 2/5 into 3 equal parts. And now, maybe I'll just change colors to make it a little bit more clear. I'm going to color one of these in to represent 1/3. Okay, so let me go ahead and extend these lines over so we can see what our new denominator would look like. So if I count all of my squares, all of the parts that I've divided this into, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And I have 2 that are shaded in both the blue and the green. It's going to be 2/15. If I use standard algorithm and I multiply 1/3 times 2/5. That's going to give me 2/15. Oh, let me move back here. Well, it's kind of fun. All right, let's go ahead and look at practice problem number 3. And it's a practice word problem. Mia had 5/6 of a pan of cornbread left over from lunch. For dinner, she ate 1/2 of the leftover cornbread. How much of the pan of cornbread did she eat? Now for this one, I want you to really think about this problem and what we're trying to find. We're trying to find that she ate half of the leftover cornbread. So we want to know how much she ate. So I want you to go ahead and pause. I want you to work this out using your rectangular model, dividing it up into fraction parts. And then I want you to also do this in standard algorithm. Whenever you've finished, press play and we'll work through it together. Okay, so if I'm looking at this, I'm going to write this as 1/2 of 5/6 because she had the 5/6 left over from lunch and she's eating 1/2 of it. So that problem is going to be 1/2 times 5/6. So I'm going to look at this fraction first and I'm going to divide this into 6 equal parts. One, two, three, four, 5, 6. All right, and then we're going to color in 5/6 of them. So I represented this fraction. Okay, let's go to blue. All right, now I'm going to take the part that I've just filled in, the 5/6, and I'm going to represent 1/2 of 5/6. So I'm going to divide this in half. Okay, and then now I'm going to color in 1/2 of the 5/6. Now I always go ahead and extend this line because this helps me understand where my numerator is coming from whenever I use standard algorithm. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 parts that we've divided this into. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that have been colored in with both colors. So that shows us 5/12. If we did this using standard algorithm, 5/12 would be our correct answer. So how much of the pan of cornbread did she eat? She ate 5/12 of the pan of cornbread. And we want to write that out in word form since it is a word problem. Okay, our challenge problem. A bottle of juice holds 3/8 gallon when it's full. If 1/3 of the juice has been poured out, how much juice is left in the bottle? Simplify if necessary and be sure to show all of your work. And we'll go over it tomorrow in class. So now it's time to finish up. Make sure you review your learning goals and vocabulary. Did you show your work including the models? That's very important because you will see models on the assessment at the end of the topic, so you want to be sure that you really understand how those work. Did you complete your challenge problem and show all of your work? You've now completed lesson 11-4. If you need more practice, you can always go to your textbook. If you want to have some more practice working with models, there are some examples in there also. Good job, and we'll see you in class tomorrow.